And welcome everybody to today's live show where we answer all of your questions and also talk about some of the other issues of the week. And boy, have there been a few rippers. In today's episode, I'm going to answer one of the really big questions we get on the challenge, which is, if people can find the stuff for free, and effectively anything digital can be found for free, right? People can pinch stuff, they can use torrent sites, they can do all sorts of stuff. Why would they actually pay us any money? It's a really key question, and I'm not going to just give you one answer, I'm going to give you 8 reasons why they're going to do that. And these are from our book of the week. So I'm going to take you through those. It's going to be a really interesting discussion. I'm also going to bring you up to date on what's going on with pay per tap. This is nothing short of a revolution, and given some late breaking information that we've just received, boy, hold on to your hats. So we're going to talk about that, and we've got a lot of questions during the week about that. And of course, as always, we will be answering your questions. And if you want to pop a question in to the system, please just drop to live.eddale.co and you can enter in any questions there, because we are broadcasting live through YouTube Live, through Facebook Live. We are going onto my blog at live.eddale.co. We are ever, and the new Niche Style TV app, which we'll be talking about not today, but next week. So it doesn't matter where you are, you will be able to watch a bit of live Ed Dale Challenge action, which is pretty exciting, if I do say so myself. All right, so let's have a look at the very first element of what we're going to be doing today, and it is going to be our book of the week. Now, I want to do this in a way that is a bit unique, because I want to talk to you about what I love about this particular book. And in particular, I just want to highlight something that is, as I said, the biggest question we get in the challenge often is, why will people pay me money when they can get our stuff for free? So let's go to the my big iPad Bro, and let's take you through it. And again, like I said, if you've got any questions, you can just add them there at live.eddale.co. All right, so now let me just clear this screen up here so we can see everything. So the book of the week, and it's just come out, is called The Inevitable, and it is by Kevin Kelly, and that name should be familiar to you all because I speak about Kevin's theory, 1,000 True Fans, all the time. It's a key fundamental to the whole niche-based challenge approach. And the theory is very simple, that if you can find 1,000 people to pay you $100 over a course of a year, you've got a $100,000 business. And with margins the way they are in digital businesses, where you're probably spending maybe 30% margins, that gives you $70,000 of income. And we know through a whole bunch of studies that, $70,000 makes a big difference. In the Western world, you are not going to need to fend for yourself on the streets. Now, admittedly, you're not going to be driving Ferraris and having big luxury boats and all those sorts of things. But for my experience, people who are doing the challenge would be just thrilled to be making $70,000 while not having to work 40 hours a week. So that's pretty exciting. And so Kevin Kelly is the guy who originated that, and he's just come out with this new book, and he's basically looking forward in The Inevitable to what is coming down the track. What are the new trends that are going to, well, as he describes, as going to be inevitable. Brilliant book. And by the way, if you're watching on live.eddale.co, you can see just down below, if you want to click on the link, this will take you to the Amazon store. There's a button underneath there, and it'll take you to or if you're watching on Niche Style TV, you can click the button and it'll take you to the Amazon store if you want to actually grab the book. But let's get cracking into it. So, this is the big question that we get. Why would someone pay me for something when they can get it for free? And in Kevin's style, he answers that there are 8 reasons. Now, Kevin can use some pretty fancy pants words when he's explaining things, but I thought, hey, this really hit home to me in terms of, this is such a key question. So I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun for us to go through these and be able to explain each one, perhaps in terms that are much more understandable to our to us, to me, to my audience. So there are, as I mentioned, 8 reasons, and the first one is immediacy. People will pay for information if they can get it quicker than elsewhere. So, if you know a particular technique or a particular strategy and you can, implement that before your competitors do, that is worth money to you. And that's something that you'd happily be prepared to pay. A lot of people subscribe to Magcasts so they can stay up to date on what's going on in their particular industry. There are whole niches where, providing people with the latest tricks and techniques and strategies and tactics are things that, yes, in theory, they could go and search all this stuff out. For example, although I'm not asking you to pay for it today, but all the research we've been doing in pay for tap and tapping up our, pardon the pun, tapping up our contacts at Apple to give you some major news coming up later on in this broadcast. That is the classic, if you can take advantage of that information before competitors know about it, that is absolutely valuable to people. And think about movies, for example. People will know that they'll be able to BitTorrent whatever movie is released tomorrow in the cinemas, but why don't they? Because they're going there for an experience and they're seeing it when everybody else sees it instead of having to wait. So that absolutely delivers value. Our second one is personalization. So if content, you can learn all about, paper tap marketing, for example, or you can learn about any marketing technique, Facebook advertising, any of those sorts of things, or you could learn, you could study how to program for free at iTunes University and look at the fantastic Stanford course, which you can download absolutely for free. But if you can get training on Facebook ads where the person who's training with you is showing you how to do it and they're doing it on your actual campaign and helping you build your first campaigns personally, people are prepared to pay for that. Yes, they could find out how to do a Facebook ad. They can go through, Facebook has some very good tutorials on how to do Facebook advertising. Apple has some great tutorials on how to do apps. But people, if they can get tutorials that are personalized exactly for them, and this is often done when you're consulting, right? What is consulting if not, or coaching, if not personalizing information that's easily found everywhere else? So that's another way people will pay you money for information that they could potentially get for free everywhere else. Now, this one is a personal favourite of mine, interpretation. Indeed, Kevin Kelly has the great quote, the software's free, but the user manual is $10,000. When you think about all of the wonderful, things that are available to you now, that you can do for free, and information that's available, that's great. But actually understanding what that information means to you specifically, that is valuable. That is very valuable. And in your niche and in your particular market, explaining what the ramifications of a particular change is really valuable. I know, for my clients, they rely on me to understand what's going on with all these things down the track, and because they don't have to worry about staying ahead of the game, which is very much a full-time job. They don't have to worry about that because I will let them know of the stuff that they need to concentrate on, the stuff that they need to focus on, and the other stuff they can ignore because it's not relevant. And they're looking to me for my interpretation of that information. And there's all sorts of examples of this. WordPress gives away their software, but then they've got a whole service engine available to it. There's a bunch of Linux runs on that. Red Hat Linux is, you can get Linux for free, but Red Hat is the service organization which provides support to that, which is, I think, a really, really good way of doing things. The fourth reason people will pay you for information that they could get elsewhere potentially for free is authenticity. And this is a classic example. Why do people spend all the money on a Gucci bag when they could get a knockoff version, which to the untrained eye looks exactly the same, for free, if not a very tiny amount of money? Because they want to get the authentic certified experience. You see this all the time, and particularly in a digital world. You think about this, where everything can anything can be digital can be copied, and hence can be made available effectively for free. There's no cost of distribution. So having an authentic, like having a proper certificate that's recognized for your course, is another way of applying authenticity. Yes, I could go and learn Scrum. I could teach myself Scrum from books, and I could teach myself Scrum from websites and podcasts and all sorts of different tools and techniques, right? But if I go to get a job as a Scrum Master, I really need Scrum certification, and that will cost me $900 and a 2-day course that I need to go to. And I willingly pay for that because people who are hiring me know, at the very least, that I've done this level of certification. So any sort of certification is another reason people will pay you money for something that they could potentially get for free, because you are lending authenticity and authority to their study. So schools basically work on this whole approach. The fifth one is accessibility. Now, when you talk about accessibility, where it becomes in digital form, think about the way music works now. You've got and the world's changing again. In the old days, you'd buy your music through iTunes. Well, of course, you used to have to buy it in CDs and stuff like that, if you can remember, or albums, for goodness sake, or 8-track tapes. You used to be able to do all of that. But then, if you were on the road and your LP collection was back home, then you didn't have music. Now, of course, we have access to all of our music digitally. And indeed, if you have a service like Apple Music or Spotify, you happily pay them $10 a month so that you've got that music accessible to you wherever you happen to be. And that's another. So having that information available anywhere. We're launching our TV platform where you can do things like this live broadcast and have them available, anywhere. Now, people will pay for that because it means that they can access their content anywhere. So accessibility is another reason that people will pay for information that's in theory free, because it is literally trouble-free. I mean, the whole reason iTunes started was Steve Jobs saying to all the music companies, look, you're getting killed by Napster and the like. People are downloading the music for free because they've got access to it. It's more accessible. Charge a reasonable amount for it, and all of a sudden it goes from, people happily pay 99 cents. Now, of course, people are paying $9 a month. So on average, they're spending, $120 a year on this because they know they can get access to any song at any time. That provides value. Now, the next one, this is a fancy pants term, embodiment. Even though we've got digital music, I go to record stores now. Remember why we call them record stores, and we really didn't even have record stores. And what are people selling? We mentioned LPs. People are selling LPs. Why? Because it's something that is physical. They can touch it. They can feel it. Why do promotions where we send out books to people who are fully online and digital, and all our courses are digital, why is a book such a powerful offering? Because it's physical. So in some ways, this is the reverse of where we're going. But if you think about it, why would somebody pay you something for free information? Because you give them something that is a collectible, that is physical in some way, that they can look and touch and feel. My desk is full of stuff like that. I've got little collectible, Rays and Arya Starks and Yoda and BB-8 here. I've got classic stuff that's tangibles. Books. My bookshelf behind me, which you can see when I'm on video, that whole thing is a classic example. Most of those books, I've bought the digital book first, and then because I really like it, I want to put it on my Hall of Fame, so I buy the hardback. So, how stupid am I? I'm paying twice for the same thing. But that is the classic reason of why embodiment, having some sort of physical thing, taking free information and making it a collectible, maybe some sort of physical thing. Podcasts and t-shirts is another classic example of this, or Etsy projects. All of those sorts of things are classic examples of all of this. Now, this next one is highly ironic. Patronage. Now, the reason I say it's highly ironic is because, in the Renaissance, many centuries ago, the only way that you could live and survive as being an artist or being a creative of some kind is through patronage. Rich people basically paid artists to deliver them art and to be able to practice their art. And they basically made sure that they could live and eat while they do this. Michelangelo had patrons. Leonardo da Vinci had patrons. It was a very cool thing. It was, every rich person in middle-aged Europe had to have their collection of artists and musicians because that was the hip thing to do. They didn't have fast cars to spend their money or luxury boats, so they collected patrons and they provided patronage. Well, guess what? Here we are in the 21st century and patronage is back big time. Now, where do we see patronage? We see it all over the place, from the most obvious examples of this, which are sites like Patreon. For example, I contribute on a monthly basis, usually a few dollars a month, to some of my favorite podcasts because I get exceptional value for free, by the way. They don't force me. I don't not get the podcasts because I'm not a patron, but they are really valuable to me and I want to support their work. So on patreon.com, I pay, it just goes out of my PayPal account, and I pay for a bunch of podcasts and things like that. Kickstarter is another example of patronage where you can create products and services, and based on the tribe and based on the value to what you're doing in that tribe, people will happily pay you in advance, effectively, for delivery of a product. And that is, really incredibly powerful. And things, there are classic examples of this. Radiohead basically, kicked off this trend with the internet because the internet made this all possible again when, with their album, what was it called? In Rainbows, that's right, back in 2007. They basically published the album and said, you pay us what you think. And they actually used a combination of techniques because they used techniques like embodiment. In other words, they had collectible editions, which were physical copies. You see this with Kickstarter. You can get just the basic information. You can get a digital download, or you can get a special collector's edition DVD, all these sorts of things. So patronage is another reason people will happily pay you money for things that they get for free, because you're providing them an awesome service and they want to find ways to give back. Often we don't ask. And perhaps my favorite of all, which is number 8, is discoverability. And this is probably the most important one, particularly in information marketing. Yes, I could learn about Kanban and Scrum and all of those things. And as I did, right, I did the courses, I studied the books, I implemented it, I, got the bruises, and I forced it upon my private clients and made sure they were doing it because I'd got religion about it and thought it was awesome. You could do that same 3-year path if you wanted to. And, it wasn't free because I paid for the course. And I also, paid for books and stuff. But, basically it was my time. Or you could just go and get something like Achieve a Formula, right? And you could learn and in 6 weeks have all of the techniques and everything that took me ages to learn. that sense of curation, that sense of being a tastemaker is a massive, 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 massive key element of what we're doing here in terms of packaging digital information. Because you've got those and you've got that ability to do all of that, then boom, right? You are totally, totally set for all of that. So, discoverability, being a tastemaker, understanding what's important. Whole magcasts have built $100,000 a year businesses on just being the tastemaker for their particular market or niche. So, as I said, that is just that is literally 3 pages out of an action-packed book called The Inevitable by Kevin Kelly. And by the way, you'll see there's an awesome little button below. And if you want to get hold of that book and read what I'm reading, you just need to click on that button. And if you're watching this after the fact on one of our channels, we'll make sure we include that in the show notes. Now, my co-producer Larry here needs to leave the office and head out the door, so I'm going to just leave you with something in a short break, and then we'll be back answering your questions and telling you all about the App Store. So stay tuned, we'll be back in 20 seconds.
Nerf this! Double. I'm on fire!
Oh yes, back we are. Hope you found that useful, and hope you found that book of the week useful. Rather than, I like to try highlight an element of the book that I found really, really useful. And I just thought, wow, 8 ways that people will pay for information that's available for free really gets to the nub of key questions that we get asked. But we have lots to do, and of course we want to answer your questions at all. So let's do a few questions, and then we'll get on to the amazing opportunities presented with Apple's massive changes during WWDC for apps. So we're going to do that as well. All right, so let's have a look. Roland asked something that gets asked a lot, actually. A couple of years ago it was Kindle publishing. This year it seems to be apps. But is there any other platforms we're going to be diving into? I just found out about Amazon merchandising, a platform where you can perform plenty of experiments. Are you aware about this, and what do you think about it? Well, yes, Amazon is a great store, and there are all sorts of opportunities that are available through selling products on Amazon. No question about that. But I tell you what, there's a fundamental. Let's take 2 steps back to answer probably the underlying question, which is, there are so many things potentially I could be doing. What am I going to do? And the fortunate thing is your tribe, your market will answer this question for you, because you need to decide, first of all, what are their pains, gains, and jobs to be done? So that's job 1, right? And then we need to build our list. Okay, so that's pains, gains, jobs to be done, and building our list. Through identifying pains, gains, and jobs to be done, we need to create pain relievers and gain creators. Okay? Now, in creating those, rather than you saying, I should be using Amazon merchants, or I should be using Kindle books, or I should be doing this, or I should be doing that, or I should do an app, ask yourself, what is the best way to deliver to my market in the most convenient, easy way to them this information, these pain relievers and these gain creators? That's the question you ask. So it's not about deciding I should do an app and making a business around that. Your business is not the media, the delivery mechanism to transfer knowledge that you've collated or that you have to deliver pain relievers and gain creators. It'll become appropriate. So, for example, if I don't know, and this answer is fraught with danger, but hey, it's just very obvious. Oh, actually, I've got a much better one. Let's say you're in the cycling niche and you've come up with a new shoe bracket thingo that riders use. Okay? New shoe bracket thingo. You can tell how much of a cyclist I am. Now, delivering that as an app is stupid, right? It's a physical product. So maybe in that case, if that's your solution, if that's the thing that you've discovered, if that's the thing that you can really help deliver, then maybe an Amazon store is exactly the type of answer that you want to have, because you don't have to put in any of the infrastructure and the e-commerce yourself. You can utilize the fact that there are literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people every day in North America searching for stuff on Amazon, and they trust it and they don't think twice about buying. That then becomes appropriate. But do you see, the solution drives the method of delivery? You don't choose the method of delivery first and then try to squeeze everything into that. Understand your market, choose your market, understand pains, gains, and jobs to be done, build a list, and in that process, then when it comes time for you to create outstanding value and ask for money, it will become obvious what it is, because you deliver the information the way your tribe is. For just another example, if I was trying to deliver an information course online and people weren't online per se doing that, although that's rarely a case anymore, but let's say for argument's sake, then it'd be silly to deliver a digital course. These days, it's becoming rarer and rarer that people have DVD players, or, to do throwbacks. We seem to be doing throwback technologies all day today. It'd be silly to provide a course on VCR tape just because it's convenient for you, because most people have chucked their VCRs. So that is, some of you watching this, some of you millennials are going, what are you talking about? But there you have it. So that's sort of how to answer that. Donovan says, hi Ed, I'm new to your show. Is there anywhere I can get up to speed on apps, and how can I get educated and get in on the action? Okay, so that actually is a nice segue into the paper tap follow-up. I did a live show last week. We did a special emergency broadcast, which is is available if you're looking for, and this actually answers a number of questions that people have. If you are looking for any of my prior broadcasts, you can just go to the blog, eddale.co. So if you just go to eddale, you see on the screen, just drop the live bit off and then click on blog, or do /blog, either will work. All of our previous broadcasts are available there. You'll also see the most recent ones on our new niche style app, which is available on the iPhone and Apple TV and all those places. But the blog is a great place if you happen to be on that device. We also publish them on YouTube, so they're on the YouTube channel. We just try to make it available wherever is most convenient to you. So they'll always be up and available, and indeed, because we're broadcasting these on Facebook Live now, they'll also be on my Facebook page as well, which is pretty sweet, right? So there's plenty of different ways to catch up. So what we did last week in our emergency broadcast is we talked about the App Store and the massive changes in the App Store, and one massive change in particular, which is the ability to advertise for the very first time in the App Store. Why is this exciting? It's the same reason that the first time Google allowed you to buy an ad for a search term on Google, it's that groundbreaking. Okay, so first just two quick refresh stats of why this is so important. First thing is that Apple released the fact that 65% of all app downloads are triggered not by a Facebook ad, not by a link from a website, but from a search on the person's device. In other words, they're searching in iTunes. They're searching in the App Store. Okay? Big deal. Big deal. And then they announced that you can have a paid app. You can pay and get a tap and be the number one position for any search term in the App Store. This is phenomenal. Now, when I did the flash broadcast last week, there were a lot of unanswered questions. And what I wanted to do now was answer some of those questions for you. Now, and let me just bring this up. If you have any sort of app, you're any sort of app developer, the session that you want to watch, and this, what's great is if you're a Magcaster or a Scriptcaster, most WWDC sessions are incredibly dry and involve a lot of code, so you don't want to watch them ever. This particular session, and developer.apple.com/WWDC16/302, introducing search ads, is brilliant. You will all understand it. There's no code. Actually, it's 5 seconds of code towards the end, but that's it. It's well worth watching. So, a lot of the answers that I'm going to give you now are answers that were either here or indeed have been clarified by Phil Schiller. The first thing to clarify is when this all rolls out. Right now, you can register as an app developer to be a participant in this program. You can't actually pay for ads yet. That is not available, and they weren't really clear on that. So when it started this prior Monday, a week ago, there's nowhere for you to buy ads. But what Apple are actually doing over the next couple of months is if you say, yes, please use my app and opt in, they will, in testing the system, they will actually advertise your app for free. So I think that's a pretty darn good thing to do. So all you have to do is go to your developer account and opt in to the program. And over the course of the summer, Apple's probably going to use your app and pick keywords that it thinks are good and actually advertise your app as part of testing the system. Pretty damn awesome, if I do say so myself. So it's free. So the actual paid part of it is not going to happen for a couple of months, right? So as they roll it out. But what they are rolling out is extraordinary. So here's what we've learnt in the meantime. This first one is massive. It's just beyond crazy. And this is what it is. Okay, you ready? There are no minimum bids. If you bid on a keyword that nobody else is bidding on and you bid 2 cents, you'll pay 2 cents. We haven't seen this since 2005, right, in any store. The great reason that you want to use paper tap advertising is because it's intent, right? People are there searching for something to download, and they're doing it in the hundreds of millions a month, okay? It's massive. So if you have an app, and this goes back to Donovan's question, you can take advantage of the most amazing traffic, the cheapest traffic that existed. We already know from Facebook that Facebook app advertising is the single most effective unit that Facebook has. So imagine being able to advertise at the source, and by the way, no minimum bid. And Phil Schiller, who's the Apple executive responsible for all of this, said that was a very deliberate move because they wanted small, independent app developers to be able to take advantage of this. Now, okay, I hear what you're thinking. Okay, well, isn't Candy Crush just going to advertise on every keyword under the sun and just blow everybody away? Well, good news. Like I said, Apple are doing this for the individual developers. Now we'll see, okay? But I have to, in an hour interview with Phil, every single time we talked about this, it was absolutely this is for independence. We're doing all these things. And as I explain these things, you'll see why. So the most important thing that they will do to ensure that that doesn't happen, that deep-pocketed major publishers just don't bombard because you would see Candy Crush everywhere, right? You'd see Clash Royale everywhere. That's Clash of Clans, et cetera, et cetera. It's not going to happen because they will not show ads, regardless of how much the person bids, in areas that they deem irrelevant. Okay, and this is huge. So you're not going, if you've got a productivity app, if you've got an app on kiteboarding, you've got a Scriptcast or Magcast on kiteboarding, Clash of Clans can't advertise over the top of your app. So that is immense, right? That was one of the biggest issues with all of this. Combine that with no minimum bid, and people who have Scriptcasts and Magcasts and independent little apps, which are niche-based apps, are going to be able to do all sorts of awesome things. So that is fantastic. Now, another big issue. One of the things you can't do in Google is you can't bid on people's names or app names, right? Because they're, inverted commas, trademarks. Now, this is, it's not a legal reason, because you can identify all sorts of reasons that you can't do that, although I'm not a lawyer and don't play one on TV. Anyway, deliberately, to benefit the little guy, guess what? You will be able to bid on app names of other apps in your category, in your section. This is super exciting, because it's a way you can get exposure, even if it's a burst. So you pay for a little bit of burst so you get exposure for your app, which starts downloads, which helps your rank rise. That is incredibly exciting. Okay, so that is amazing. Apple has a keyword suggestion engine built in. So for the first time ever, you will be able to type in the category, the name of your app, and it'll have a look at Apple actually looks at your name of your app, the keywords that you've got attached to it in iTunes Connect, and the description. And based on that, even before you pay a penny, it will suggest keywords for you. This is awesome. And by the way, tell you the relative popularity of each of the keywords that they're suggesting to you. This has never been available before. This is immense. This is absolutely huge. Right? This has never been available. So guess what? You've got this virtuous circle. Wait to see what Apple tells you. Then guess what? Update your meta tag keywords based on Apple's own information. Thank you, Apple. That is amazing. That is absolutely so exciting to be able to do. So you've got this virtuous circle, which is fantastic. That is awesome. You can set budgeting. Right, so you can say, I only want to spend $20 a day. Indeed, some of the examples that they show, you've got that. Apple can actually do a campaign for you based on your budget and how much you're prepared to spend per tap. Now, normally, right, we would advise you not to touch those things with a barge pole. But here, doing that for a day is the best, smartest thing you could possibly do, because you're going to get all this information. How much people are paying for keywords, what's the availability, what keywords are popular, and then you can stop them, start them, and then you can start to pick your own keywords. You'll have exact and broad match, just like you do in Google. Exact match will include plurals and misspellings. Thank goodness. So you don't have to have horrible rows of keywords with misspellings and plurals. The broad match will also, include keywords around that word. So you've got keyword broad. You've got negative keywords. So you can say, I don't want any keywords that involve this, this, and this, which is just brilliant as well. So we've got all of that. No minimum bid. Did I mention no minimum bid? Because there's no minimum bid. And while, I expect that you'll be bidding anywhere from $1 to $3 cost per tap in popular keywords, I'm tipping you're going to get kiteboarding for a hell of a lot less. I'm tipping you're going to get tiny houses for a hell of a lot less. I'm tipping you're going to get gypsy jazz guitar for a hell of a lot less. Pennies on the dollar. It's so, so exciting. It really is, truly exciting. So that is my App Store update for you guys. And I hope that's been useful for you, because it is truly exciting. Now, the news is, of course, that they have, as I say, they've started the program. Nobody can actually pay money as yet. By the way, you'll be able to pay in Australian dollars, euros, pounds, Canadian dollars, and US dollars. So it will certainly go to all of those markets. And that is just super duper exciting. Okay, so let's do some follow-up questions from people that have been listening in. So Viv asks, hi Ed, could you give us some tips or guidance on how to use apps to apply to our niche to monetize? Thanks, Viv. Well, the obvious example that comes to mind, because, hey, we built it, is Magcasters and Scriptcasters, who are providing information. What's our first part of focus one of any business is understand your market. What are their pains, gains, and jobs to be done? Focus point number 2 is provide value into that market. So the apps are a vector in which you can provide value in that market. And for Magcasters, that means being a tastemaker, a curator, so that people can read the Magcast like a journal and they can be up to date and see what's going on in their particular niche that they love. So they're providing value in that way. Scriptcasters are effectively, a modern day blog. What happens if you started a blog but did it from a modern perspective, mobile first? And so you can do that. That's another way of doing it. It all depends on pains, gains, and jobs to be done. We, for example, funnily enough, if you want to see what we've done for our market, is we've thought, well, what is a really, really big problem that people have in our market? And how do we figure that out? Because I looked at what are my big problems. And my big problems are remembering to do things that I should be doing each day, rituals. Now, the Kanban board, as magnificent as it is, it's not so good at rituals, things that you need to do every single day. So John wrote me an app, Achiever here, so that it would remind me, because what else do we know about people with my particular Colby score is that we know that we just never look at reminder to-do lists. We don't look at them. We don't open apps. We just don't do it, right? It will happily start them, but we'll never ever look at them again. So I needed a way of being super annoyed, right? And something that hits me in the face. And Apple released these things called smart notifications, and same with Android. And that means that I don't even have to go into the app. It'll just tap me on my Apple Watch, or it'll remind me, and it'll say, hey, did you do this? And I'll either be able to quickly tap on here, usually it's on my watch, tap yes, I did, or no, I didn't, and gee, I better do it. It's a reminder thing. So that was a pain that people that I had, particular, scratching your itch is a great way to decide about creating an app. And so we decided to build that. And what you can see from that, what's interesting from Achiever is not only is it's an app builder, but it's a list builder. Okay, we're providing value, we're giving it away for free, but we're also building a list. And of course, we hope that people who buy Achiever want to find out about things like Kanban and building a list, which is so important for any app. If you ask me what's the number one reason to have an app for, is build a list, because that's where everybody is. That's why it makes sense. Okay. So when does Scriptcast become available? Oh, there you go. But it had an issue also. So, okay. Scriptcast and Magcast, which are done by our parent company, 30DC, they're actually changing their whole model, and they're going to the professional market and the general public. What I can tell you is in the next 2-3 weeks, there will be one final opportunity because basically people who followed me and information marketing and people who are in Achiever Formula, there'll be one opportunity for you to buy a lifetime license. So keep an eye out for that. We will let you know when it happens, and I'll let you know on here when it happens. So for those of you who are asking, keep an eye out. There'll be one final, and that's it. They're literally, you won't be able to get access to them because, well, you will, but they'll be a $27 a month service as it rolls out to the general public. Whereas this way you can buy a lifetime license. But keep an eye out. Trust me, we will let you know. But thank you for asking, because we have got that question quite a bit. Yeah, Kathy's saying, people are buying records and turntables again. Absolutely. Helen says, which software are you using that sends a text message and you are talking to us now? Hey, well, funny you should mention that. That is also a great service of the app. So that text message that you got is actually a push notification, which is another great reason to have an app. So we can send out messages to people who have downloaded our app to remind them, hey, we're doing a live broadcast right now, which is awesome, which is why you're here. Another great reason to have an app, actually, because people are busy, but in the moment they might go, oh yeah, no, I can kick back on a Sunday evening or wherever you happen to be and say, yeah, I'll listen to Ed for a couple of minutes and see what's going on in the world. So that's exactly what we use there. So that's a great question. Chris says, and he says, I can't wait for a workshop. We're planning our next lot of North American workshops now. Got a couple of really cool ideas, so stay tuned for that. They'll be happening later in the year. Jack asks, hello, does Infusionsoft work for network marketing programs? Yes, well, Infusionsoft or any autoresponder, because for those of you who don't know, Infusionsoft is the pro level, it's what we use, autoresponder service, which manages and sends email, right? But it does it in a very clever way. So you can, send only relevant emails to people that they're relevant rather than just spamming your whole list, all these sorts of things. So to answer your question, Jack, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, our number one job, whether it's MLM or whether it's pottery valuation or dog training or whatever it happens to be, ultimately, remember, our focus point is build a list. And building a list means getting email, right? You must get email. And of course, you need some way to collate and send that email. And so Infusionsoft is definitely the pro level thing. It's what we use. And that's where you get all these clever integrations. Like if you go to Achiever, you'll see that not only do you download the app, but we also register that in Infusionsoft, so we can send you follow-up information on the app, so we can show you here's how to use it, all of these sorts of things, so we can build a tribe around people who are downloading our app. So that's a classic example of that. And Frank says, how often should you send emails to your list? And should you divide the list for this purpose? Absolutely. List segmentation, which is how we call it, is an absolutely crucial element of anything that you should do. Because at this day and age, let's face it, it's very few people that open up their email and go, oh, goody, what email have we got today? It's normally not something that people are super excited about. So when you send email, make sure it's relevant. That's far more, relevancy is way more important than frequency. Okay, you can send an email each day. Apple, how often does Amazon send you an email? How often does Apple send you an email? Though I think I get at least half a dozen emails from Amazon. I'm tempted to say I get pretty much one a day. And I don't mind them because they're relevant. And they're often showing me cool things that I want to buy. I don't have a problem with that at all. It's about relevancy. And if you're sending stuff that's completely irrelevant, well, then you're going to get straight into the unsubscribe. And, you've ruined the relationship with your tribe member. But if you can make them relevant, then frequency is not a problem. Bottom line is I think most people don't send enough email. I don't think they're frequent enough. However, you've got to match that frequency with relevancy. And that is the thing that will make that work. Bob asks, and I think I just showed you, can you profitably funnel, ad, and landing page redirect through your app? Well, you just saw an example of that with good old Achiever. That's exactly what we do. So, yes, the answer, big fat yes. And many Magcasters are doing that too. So that's fantastic. And we've answered all of those, which is great. We've done the App Store. Oh, Peggy asked a question here, and it's a Magcast question. And the question there is, you're suggesting 5 articles in a typical Magcast issue. What's the typical length of an article? Mine seem very long. They only need to be as long as it takes to fulfill the promise of the headline. So people don't want long articles for the sake of sometimes, a great involving, evocative article that, is a 4,000 word article, people will read happily because they're enthralled about the topic. Oftentimes, if you can answer the question in a very short, a listicle, for goodness sake, let's face it, BuzzFeed, one of the most popular reading sites on the planet right now, most of those are listicles and little videos and little pictures and GIFs and stuff, right? But if you fulfill the promise, it doesn't matter how long or short those articles are, because it's digital. There's no sense of weight. People don't don't want thud value, not in a digital product, because how many things have you got queued up on your Kindle that you want to read? How many things have you got in pocket, the articles that you want to read? I bet you got stacks, right? And these are things that you actually either paid money or want to read and you still haven't read yet. So given that that's the case, if you can, and the studies actually bear this out, with Kindle books, and early on people worried about, should I flesh out my Kindle book so it's over 100 pages or something? Some of the most successful info publishing Kindle books are 15, 20 pages. It doesn't matter about length, it matters about how well do you provide pain relievers and game creators in that book. And people will appreciate a shorter read often because they get that sense of completion. They get that dopamine rush when they say, yep, that's done. So people really appreciate that as well. So hopefully that answers your question there. Let's have a look. Answered all of those, which is great. Here's a Achiever question. Eugene says, I've been having success with Kanban. Thank you. Oh, awesome. I use it every day. Just reset my board this morning, in fact. But I'm not entirely sure about Kolbe. For those of you who don't know, Kolbe is a report that you get when you do achieve a formula, which talks to you about the way you act. Okay, and it's, because there are certain things we do when we act which are relatively easy for us, and there are certain things that are super hard. Me doing this live broadcast, super easy. It's no stress. I'm happy to do it. Ask me to write a blog post, that's a lot of stress, and indeed I've had to figure out a way that I can do a blog post, twisting all of my things that I'm strong at to do it. And this is what Kolbe shows you, and we use it in Achiever formula so that you can focus on the things that you're good at, because there's never been a better time in this day and age to not have to stress about the things that you are not good at. So that's what Kolbe refers to. So now let's keep going. Now, I answered accurately for my recent years' health and energy levels. For most of my life, I've been a higher quick starter and implementer and lower follow-through. What do you know of transitional states in Kolbe, and how should one try ACT, current or previous score? So you have to, people who are in transition, this happens from time to time. Typically, people who've had some sort of major issue in the past period of time, touching all available wood. None of this happens to you, but it could be a death of a loved one, or a major illness, or a severe financial event, or some trauma of some kind. And it effectively throws you off balance, right? And Kolbe is amazing at this, and we've done the studies to show this with entrepreneurs. People who come up with transitional scores have inevitably had this issue, and which is great. Not great that you had the issue, but great because you need to deal with life as is, not life how it was. That's history, right? So you need to steady the ship here, now, in real time. And then as you steady that ship, you'll slowly go back to the normal way of doing things. So, there are some great pieces of advice. In fact, Kathy talks about this in your report, in your Kolbe report that you got. And there are also some great audios for people who are in transitional modes with suggestions about how to do that. But one of the best things that we found is you're in the right place, because starting your Kolbe board allows you to get a sense of anchor and a sense of stability. So just even doing your Kanban board is a great way to start balancing the ship. So you may only be able to do one ticket this week, but that's one ticket moving forward that you've moved into the done column. And you start to work the way things are now, because there's nothing worse, right, for people, and you see this in sport all the time. There's nothing sadder than somebody who used to be brilliant at something, but because of age or they've been injured so often, they can't quite get back to that point. That happens all the time. That doesn't happen that not only happens in sports, it happens in entrepreneurial life, it happens in our lives. And that's cool, because as I said, there's never been a better time in history for you to be able to get the help you need to be able to still deliver something. You still need to be able to provide value to a marketplace. You still need to choose a marketplace. And even if you use the challenge, as a start, just to start getting, and using the challenge as something that you can do to start, that can be a great way to do it. In fact, a couple of questions that we got this week are people who are saying, oh, Ed, achieve a formula in the challenge. Which should I do first? Well, the Achiever formula was created based on me observing people take the challenge for 10 years. Because what I realize is people need an operating system for working, because as entrepreneurs, most of the productivity, most of the training, most of the things that you've read are just not designed for us. We're just not good at following that stuff. And that's why I designed Achiever Formula. So my answer is you use Achiever Formula to do the challenge. That's the ultimate. That's the smartest way to do it, because the challenge, and this goes to our person in transition here, Eugene, that gives you the stability. Says, okay, I'm just going to focus on doing the challenge this week, because if you follow through the challenge, and the challenge is available right now and it's totally free, right? By following that, you will understand pains, gains, jobs to be done. You will understand the importance of building a list and creating your first funnel and your first giveaway. All of these things you'll be able to do through the challenge, right? And the way for you to successfully do the challenge is to use your Achiever formula. So you use your personal Kanban. So you break down each of the elements of the challenge and make a ticket. And then you move those tickets left to right and you get a feel for what you're doing. You get that little sense of control. So even if it's half an hour a week, you're moving forward. And that is really super powerful. All right, folks, we've got a couple more questions there, but I like to keep these things to approximately an hour. At any time during the week, if you're watching this on a replay, at any time, you can go and leave questions, which I will answer in the next broadcast. And we keep them, so I will get to your question. Lots of news today, and I hope you really enjoyed the Inevitable with Kevin Kelly as well. And again, the link below for those of you watching on replay, you can go and have a look at that particular book if you want to see what I'm reading, and I give it my double thumbs up recommendation. That's brilliant, and I hope you found the sort of why things should be free to be useful, and also a big update on the App Store, and then just talking about, and answering your questions. So I hope that you all found that useful as of today. We will be back, same bat time, same bat channel next week, doing my Ask Me Anything. And like I said, if you can't make it but want to leave a question, you can just pop it there and we'll catch it and we'll answer them during the broadcast. So with that, thanks very much. Thanks for the team. Stay tuned for all those things that I talked about, and we will speak real soon. So have fun, everybody, and we will see you around the traps. All right. Bye for now.